Hey, Editor Will here. Just a quick note before we start. Jen's audio is quiet for the first few minutes while the gang discusses Mardi Gras, but her audio is back to normal after around the 5:45 mark.
So this was sent. This is the reason why Jen's here, is because it would have been awkward to just eat an entire Mardi Gras king cake by myself.
Oh yeah, is that from Charles Landers?
It is from Charles Landers. How familiar are you with the Mardi Gras tradition, the king cake tradition?
I know that you need to find like a little baby in it, but I don't know why. And I think the colors are like the Lord of Orleans or something. Like it's some French nobleman had green, purple, and gold. You know, that common pattern.
Those are royal colors.
Yeah.
Green and gold. So I don't know why, again, I am new to these lands. So I only found out about a lot of this when I first moved to Texas, because nobody gives a shit about Mardi Gras in Florida. Like, you know, there are plenty of reasons to get fucked up all the time. And
it's constant Mardi Gras in Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. But obviously there is the religious tradition of Mardi Gras for the Catholic faith that you get super fucked up, and that brings you into Lent, right? This is like the
is Ash Wednesday. You put ashes on your forehead,
which weirdly is becoming more of a thing that people are like doing on television all day. So maybe
such a virtue signal.
It is. I don't know. I mean, there's all these like things that I don't know how serious to take, that like religion is like up, like specifically the Catholic religion is like on the upswing. That would be
on the upswing. I just think that the people that are still in it are much more showy about it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
because I was raised Catholic, and like
there's
get
no
the ashes and then wash them off.
Yeah, there's no doubt that is the case. But I've also heard attendance things. Anyway, I don't know why we're getting corn chips along with this, but here are 2 bags of HEB corn chips, regular. Those are basically Fritos, and then chili cheese corn chips. So that is that. I'm not going to make you show your boobs, Jen, but here are some beads.
Lakers colors.
Sure, let's go with that.
They are.
And then there's a gigantic king cake here that I guess, here, it's a bag. I am going to like get my fingers full of frosting and then have to do the rest of this show. But just here for the audience.
Got a real tough workplace.
I know.
I've done. First of all, I already inhaled that. So Charlie was nice enough to send me one, and I've already eaten mine. Very tasty.
You ate the whole king cake?
I ate like 3/4 of it, and then I was like, "This is a lot of carbs." But I ate.
And then you're like, "What the fuck is going on in my life?"
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it tastes great with coffee. It is. I kicked off a very pleasant Sunday morning drinking coffee and eating king cake. Just eating like chunks of it with my hand like a raccoon.
That's really good.
So while you're doing that, I'm buddies with Charlie. We've played Age of Empires 2. He's out in San Angelo, Texas, and I've done commercials for him. Like I was at a car commercial through Charlie.
Really?
He's a very talented filmmaker. And does a lot of really.
Does he also
projects.
make the king cakes, or has he just got a king cake connection?
He's got a connection. Charlie is from a film family. I don't know if he was in LA for any amount of time. I think he was. I think he was down in Louisiana for a while, maybe, or his family was when they had big film subsidies down there. I want to say his family background is catering in film. And so that's probably from his mom or from another family member that's involved on that end. And so he comes out of that background and makes films and makes commercials and stuff, and is a fun guy.
Well, I got to say that whoever made this did a hell of a job, because I've had king cake before, but never as good as this. This tastes like a giant Cinnabon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I'm fairly confident that's Charlie's mom. Hats off to Charlie's mom.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie.
Charlie's mom has got it going on.
Yeah.
And now, all right, talking amongst yourselves again, because I do need to wash my hands.
Hey, Jen, do you know the crappy British alternative to Mardi Gras is Pancake Tuesday? Did you know this?
I like pancakes.
Pancakes are nice, but you know what's more fun? getting really drunk and throwing beads to topless ladies. That's what the Catholics came up with. And what the British came up with was, what if on Tuesday we all eat pancakes? That could be, we're going to eat a lot of carbs and then go into Lent, which we don't celebrate because we're Protestant. But we will go ahead and eat pancakes on Tuesday. And in Scotland, you do Pancake Tuesday where you just have pancakes and whiskey. Like you just pour like some sugar into your glass of scotch and then pour that like syrup onto the pancakes. It's great.
I mean, it's better than an average Tuesday.
Yeah,
Carbs
I
and
still
whiskey,
think I would
pretty
like seeing a bunch of drunk boobs and like lighting a bottle rocket out of a drunk dude's butthole. Like that seems like a better thing.
It's Pancake Tuesday is the bronze medal of Mardi Gras activity. Like it's fun, but it's not as much fun as floats and topless ladies with beads.
I actually did Mardi Gras, like actual Mardi Gras. Lots of fun. I was still drinking at the time. That felt appropriate. But I actually had more fun in Germany's version of Mardi Gras, because what they did in Cologne is that everyone was wearing costumes, but because it's so damn cold, most people wear full body onesies, which I think, Justin and I know are very big fans of those. Mm-hmm. And they took the department store in the town I was living in Bonn, and took 2 out of the 3 stories, and 2 out of the 3 stories were all full body onesies. Like the Germans did not screw around, and they basically shut down everything that wasn't restaurants or party related. And they had a giant parade and everyone was dressed up, and like people were drinking, but it wasn't quite like drinking was the thing the way it was in Mardi Gras. Like there was booze, but it was more like there was parties and dancing and just the fact that it was the Germans. They feel so serious on a day to day, but then you get them on a party day, and it was just an absolute blast. And I've got to say, I had more fun that day than I had at Mardi Gras, because Mardi Gras was a bit disgusting in New Orleans.
New Orleans is ...
I love New Orleans, but on Mardi Gras, like if you had to go to the restroom, it was a thing that would just generate terror, because you were either going to wait for 45 minutes in a line, or you're going to dare to use one of the porta potties, which Joe ended up using a porta potty and ended up having to ditch his shoes.
Oh, good
It
Lord.
was that bad.
Yeah.
So,
oh God, I would amputate my feet at that point.
It was really gross. And I will say the Germans ordered enough porta potties for the population.
Look, they're good at planning.
You know that I never flinch at a moment where I can poke fun at the Europeans because of American dynamism. That being said, if we're stacking up a logistics competition between the Germans and the state of Louisiana, I'm going to go ahead and fold my hand. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah, you guys got us beat there.
Yeah.
Jenna, you're on the note of that, years ago, I was on a train from the German part of Switzerland to Italy. And on the train, I'm like reading a book or whatever, and a guy comes on and he goes, "Passengers, we apologize. The train will be arriving 6 minutes ahead of schedule. We apologize for the discretion." And I was like, "So you're apologizing for being early?" Then I got to Italy, to Milan, and the train took off 2 hours late because they were taking a lunch break. I stood in a vestibule on the train because they'd overbooked all the things. So I was just hanging out with prostitutes in the vestibule. Then the train shut down for 3 hours. And I called a conductor over and I was like, "Hey man, what's going on?" And he goes, "Oh, excuse, the train got lost." And I was like, it's on a track. I can drive it. Like you can put me in charge of the train and I can just drive it down the track.
Can you imagine what a Wes Anderson film it is to see a still life of Andrew Heaton sitting with a bunch of Italian prostitutes? Like that is a well-dressed group. Like it's just a bunch of like tight-fitting dresses and Andrew Heaton looking like a dime store detective.
This is one of the downsides to Italy. Italy's a great country to visit. Wonderful food, friendly people, beautiful people. Like whenever I go to Italy, I feel like I should just apologize because I'm this horrible claymation character that skulks into this peninsula of models, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'll just skulk over here and eat pasta. Apologies.
As your sharp elbowed shadow just marauds through the countryside. We just have a sick audience. I just want to say the audience is just broken and fucked up.
Which means we're getting exactly what we deserve.
Part of the problem, right? Were I single and were I to walk into a guy's place and see a batleth and a picture of him with William Shatner, I would absolutely ovulate on the spot.
Yes. Point 1 for ovulation.
Another mentally disturbed woman writes, if I came to your apartment and saw your Star Trek stuff, I'd be sold. You're such a lovable geek, batleth and crazy hair. You're a true warrior. I'm ovulating, winky face.
Yes, 2 for ovulating. A lot of ovulating going on the show this week.
There was also
a
by the way, a trans woman wrote in and said, I would wish I was ovulating. So there's this crossed all different demos here. And then
I appreciate that. And while I am specific in my own sexual tastes, I want everyone to be sexually attracted to me. So that's great. Thank you.
No, you're doing well. You're doing well in all the demos here. For folks who are only listening, Andrew Heaton is now standing as if he is on location in his own studio because he wants the camera to focus on the fact that he indeed hung the batleth.
I've got a batleth there. There's a portrait of PJ O'Rourke, peace be upon him. I got my Phil Hartman signed photo over here. There's a thing by Jack Handy. And then, look, picture of me and William Shatner right there.
There we go.
There it is.
There we go. By the way, boldly going brings us home on these fucked up emails. We Star Trek ladies do exist. For my birthday a few years ago, my husband planned a whole Star Trek themed role-playing adventure with friends at our local game store. He and I dressed in our professionally made Star Trek The Next Generation costumes while my friend wore cute onesies. It was a blast. Heaton, hold out for the girl who knows what a batleth is. That's how you know she's the one. And then there's a picture of her during her big birthday celebration. So
I love this picture so much. You guys are so fun.
yeah,
They're having fun. So it sounds like I need to just go trawling at Star Trek conventions. That sounds like what I need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You haven't thought of that yet?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Here's Jen. The problem is there aren't that many Star Trek conventions. It all kind of got subsumed by Comic-Con. So they're like,
go to Comic-Con.
yeah, you know what? A green woman's a green woman. Whether
we're doing
Marvel
Dragon Con
or she's
this
from
year.
Star Trek.
We're doing Dragon Con this year in Atlanta on Labor Day.
I think it's in August, isn't it? When is Labor Day?
Labor Day. Yeah, end of August.
I'm
Beginning of
usually in
September.
Scotland at that time, but if I'm not, would be happy to join you down there.
Oh,
That'd
I'm
be a lot of
sorry.
fun.
I thought you were serious about finding your soulmate. Oh, well, pardon me. I guess
All right,
I'll go
if
fuck
I
myself.
go, I better fucking find
Yeah.
that soulmate.
Well, hey, look, you can't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket, bub.
That's true. That's a good point. It's in the Bible.
Comic-Con a San Diego thing?
Comic-Con is in San Diego. Dragon Con is in Atlanta. There's a few. MegaCon is one in Chicago. But,
New York has a Comic-Con.
Yeah,
New
pick a
York.
fucking con, man. Go find your lady.
Yeah. I will say that Dragon Con has the reputation for the cosplay. So if you want to see all manner of insane cosplay, a lot of like the big cosplay influencers will use that as kind of like their Super Bowl. Like that's like where they'll build their biggest things. And it is one of the most phenomenal weekends of the year. We used to go every year because we used to do a live show with Brian and I. We may well do it again this year, by the way. But it's great not only because it is thousands and thousands of nerds that are all dressed up in all manner of costume from all manner of things, a lot of crossover costumes and inside jokes, very funny. But also, the SEC has their kickoff weekend in Atlanta the same weekend. So you also get the cross-contamination of LSU
Jocks and
fans
nerds.
and like, and they're just wandering around being like, oh, look at that, man, that's crazy.
Oh, how fun.
So fun.
Are you bringing a baby mascot to her first Dragon Con?
Yeah.
Oh, how many
yeah.
costumes does she get to wear?
That is a question for her mother.
That's like a nerd baptism. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds right up your alley.
It's
Andrew,
not
you
gonna-
can just slap that cowboy hat on your head and people just think you're dressed up, but
Yeah, you're
like,
not-
I'm just me.
You're not far away from Woody, you know.
Yeah.
You could
That's
do-
true. Yeah,
How's
you're right.
that? We can just
I
get
don't
him
know.
a big star badge.
I've got, that being said, though, Jen, I am not for want of science fiction costumery. I've got a good, well, not good. I've got an okay quality
Exactly.
Wrath of Khan
What
Star Trek
fucking
uniform.
idiot.
Thinking.
Yeah, thank you. And
course
I've got
he has
a
the
really
outfit.
good, like white Imperial officer outfit that I've trotted out a couple times. So maybe I'll go for 2 days.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
We'll talk about that off air. State of the Union thoughts before we go any further. There's obviously a little bit that we'll touch on because we're going to talk about the Olympic culture wars. But any other thoughts about the State of the Union?
I watched it last night. I was over at the Reason office. We did some, I guess not a man in the office as opposed to man on the street footage of it. And my general position is I think the State of the Union is stupid and it's a monarchical thing, and we should not be having the King's Address to Parliament. But within the continuum of a King's Address to Parliament, that one was pretty good. It was basically an award show. Like Trump is a good showman. He was uncharacteristically restrained. Like I had thought he was going to bring a super soaker and just shoot John Roberts in the face with a stream of water. And he didn't even, he said it was a very unfortunate Supreme Court decision, said that 3 times in an ominous way. But again, like this is like 1 out of 10 on the Trump scale. And then he passed out a bunch of medals to veterans and various other people. It was very pleasant. It was very upbeat and uplifting.
Okay. We had very different perceptions of it. I will, full disclosure, I didn't watch the whole thing because we knew that he was going for the longest State of the Union address in history.
And succeeded.
He succeeded it. He succeeded beating his own record.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've just seen enough Trump speeches. And so I went this morning just to seek out the 2 things that I was curious about. I wanted to know what he was going to say about the tariffs because of the Supreme Court decision, and knowing that Supreme Court justices are generally sitting there staring at him face to face. There were only 4 of them in attendance, but 2 of them were pretty key. It was John Roberts, who's like the head of the Supreme Court, and Amy Coney Barrett, who Trump seems to think owes him loyalty or whatever.
Trump appointee who voted against his position on the tariffs.
As did SCOTUS rock star Neil Gorsuch, who stole the show in that particular ruling.
Also a Trump appointee.
Also not there, though.
He was not there.
Yeah.
No.
So,
Good
I
call.
mean, Trump was staring these people in the face.
Were they all no votes?
So it was Gorsuch, Alito, and Thomas
So Alito
who
was a
voted
yes vote.
with him. Yes.
Yeah.
And they didn't. None of them
No,
showed
no,
up,
no,
actually.
no.
No.
Gorsuch voted against it.
Thomas, Alito, and
Gorsuch
Kavanaugh
voted
were all
with-
dissenting.
Oh, Kavanaugh was the one that voted
Yeah,
with
Gorsuch
Trump.
was a concurring opinion. Roberts wrote the rule. The progressive justices joined them. So it was Roberts, Barrett, Gorsuch, Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson. They were all in the majority. And
But who were the
Thomas,
4 that were
Alito, and
there?
Kavanaugh.
The 4 that were there.
Barrett, Jackson. Barrett, Roberts, and I don't know the other 2. I don't remember the other 2.
Do you know, Jen?
Yes, I do. John Roberts was sitting there. The I think it was Elena Kagan
It's
that was
Kagan,
sitting next
yeah.
to him. Yeah. And then there was Kavanaugh, and then there was Coney Barrett. So those were the 4
So
that were.
3 to 1 of
Kavanaugh
what
was
Trump
the
cares
only
about.
one sitting there being like, I'm with you, bro.
Yeah.
So I was curious what that was going to look like. And I really didn't like what I saw, because what Trump essentially did was tell the Supreme Court to their faces, I'm going to defy your orders. I know you said that these tariffs are illegal. I'm going to do them anyway. And then straight up said that he doesn't need Congress. And like the Supreme Court's decision was, you do need Congress. So I know he's trying some different ways to get the tariffs to stick. Right now, the way that he's talking about would only be valid for 150 days, in which case he would need Congress. And if the whole point of tariffs is to bring manufacturing into the United States, you do need these to be permanent. So it's like, the strategy still doesn't make sense, but it was the defiance of that moment that I can't say I'm surprised by it, but I definitely didn't like it. And then on immigration, I think there's some horrible things going on in this country. We do have 2 American citizens who are killed on video, but there's other people that are dying in these immigration prisons, and it's awful. I think we know how I feel about that. And I wanted to see if there was going to be any kind of promise to do better, especially now that the Department of Homeland Security is shut down. I wanted to see, is there going to be any, hey, I know that this hasn't gone great, but this is our goal and this is how we're going to change things. Is there any reaching across the aisle to anyone who gives a shit about American citizens being murdered in the streets, or, you know, our houses being raided by thugs with no warrants? Like, was there any indication that the president realizes that we're pissed about this and that we have good reason? And there was none of that at all. He was yelling things about Somali pirates, and it was all about the illegals. It was just basically a lie that they're going after the worst of the worst. So those are the 2 moments that I really wanted to seek out, to be like, is there any sign here that he's changing directions? And the things that I think are the most disturbing, in that those are 2 directions where he is doing unconstitutional things. And all I saw was defiance from the man. So I didn't find it uplifting at all. But that's Trump for you.
Well, hold on. Before we go back to that, just one point of clarification on the tariff. At least this is just their strategy, right? And so we can dissect it in the same way that their strategy was to use IEEPA, which apparently was a big fight internally. That there were two schools of thought: either A, the Howard Lutnick school, which was to use the IEEPA tariffs, which would be more transient. You could push them wherever you wanted because it was technically an emergency power. And then there is what they're going to do now, which is to put a blanket tariff down that is for 150 days and then use another statute. I can't remember the actual codes for either of them, but they require their actual trade disputes that require investigations. And so basically the investigations are going to start now under the cover of these 150 days. So by the time that the 150 days is up, the other tariffs would go in. And so when he says he doesn't need Congress, that's what he's talking about, is that it's a 1-2 punch that is far more legally settled than IEEPA was, but does not have the flexibility and truth social postability that IEEPA, they alleged, gave him. And then the Supreme Court said, absolutely not.
It's still a lack of permanence, though, that like defeats the entire purpose of it. And a defiance of, like, he's sitting there giving an address to Congress, telling Congress to their faces, I don't need you.
I agree with you that Trump's an asshole. I think within the existing Trump spectrum, he was on good behavior. Trump's behavior is deplorable in general, but I think that the Trump spectrum extends from funny grandpa to game show host to fascist P.T. Barnum. And I was anticipating him being on the fascist P.T. Barnum end of the spectrum. He was more between game show host and funny grandpa on the Trump scale. I completely agree with you on tariffs. Like I'm thrilled with how the Supreme Court ruled. I don't think it was quite as defiant as you're saying, just because the position that the court had was not that you can never do tariffs. It was really more to do with the major questions doctrine and the idea that if Congress has an ambiguous statute, do we err on the side of giving discretion to the executive branch, or do we err on the side of the most strict, limited interpretation of it? And they went with the major questions doctrine and said it is theoretically possible that Congress could outsource tariff abilities to the president, but that's not what IEEPA said. It doesn't say that, and you don't get to just claim it within the range of ambiguity. But Roberts didn't say that there's no situation under which that couldn't happen. He made delineations between peacetime and wartime. Kavanaugh, in the dissenting opinion, talked about all sorts of precedent where presidents had levied tariffs, and probably the most immediate example is Nixon, who did something similar under the predecessor to IEEPA, where he did, I think it was 15 or 10% tariffs for like 45 days. It may not have got challenged just because it was temporary. And I completely agree with you, Jen. It's not going to do anything, because having tariffs for 150 days is not going to compel any manufacturing to come back into the United States. So I don't disagree with you on any of the practicality. But if the president was basically saying the method by which we wanted to do this stupid program got shut down by SCOTUS, and so we're going to try to find a more limited and legal means by which we could accomplish it, that doesn't strike me as open defiance so much.
Well, that wasn't the tone in which he said it. So I think when you're putting on a show for the entire country, it rang to me as defiance, especially when paired with the way he was treating people who are worried about ICE. So I saw a defiant president. I saw someone who really didn't give a fuck about how anyone other than his base thought, despite the very life and death consequences of his actions. And I didn't like it. And I don't think that's surprising.
No, it's not. I would say if you did not watch the whole thing, this was by far, I think, maybe the best speech I've ever seen him give. I'm not a fan of his speeches. When I've covered him live, I usually hit the exits about 15 minutes before I assume he's going to end, because I just assume I can catch whatever. If he says anything interesting, I'll catch it on the YouTube stream on the way back. But it was extraordinarily well constructed. There was a lot of like sweet before he got to the sour, and what you're referring to specifically when it came to the immigration points, that was the most the most caustic that he got with the Democrats, including, and this is the thing that essentially you're going to see it in ads for the rest of the midterms, his like stand up if you're not gay moment of like, if you support this, please stand up and show your support. The chief role of the American government is to protect citizens and not illegal aliens. At which point, all the Republicans stood up and cheered for like a solid 2.5 minutes, and all the Democrats stayed seated. The through line, the basic through line for the midterms is going to be Democrats are still not normal. Even if you're mad at us, these people are still crazy and they will do crazy things. He even used the phrase, "we're not going back," which I don't know whether or not that was an intentional nod to Kamala Harris's campaign. I also don't know if it's wise to be echoing anything from Kamala Harris's campaign because it wasn't exactly super effective. But there was a part of the speech that was just clip factory for the midterms. And then, to Heaton's point, the end of it was reality show for
the last 40 minutes of it was passing out awards and medals.
Yeah, and it's like, look, I don't like the State of the Union speeches. I think that they are usually this weird combination of a political ad and then a bunch of wonkery that isn't even like real. It's usually presidents saying things that they wish would happen that they also already know not only aren't happening, but like they're not going to spend any political capital to make happen. They just want to say it out loud because they know that it's popular to their base. And there was a little bit of that, like Trump talked about his healthcare system or his healthcare proposal, which is not going to happen, is dead on arrival, and he's already stopped pressing it. But if we're going to mostly spend the time saying, hey, here's somebody getting the Congressional Medal of Honor, like the big finale was a 100-year-old veteran who was in a legendary dogfight for 40 minutes, shot down like 8 Soviet planes. But because of rising tensions with Russia, the Americans couldn't admit that it happened. And so he kept it secret for decades. And they had recently just declassified it, and they gave him the Medal of Honor, the Congressional Medal of Honor there. And it's like, you want to know what? Would I rather that than a president going over a policy proposal that nobody gives a shit about, even including all the people in the room that are clapping for it? Like, yeah, I'd prefer that. But we'll see. We'll see whether or not it matters. My suspicion is not a lot, except to say that I talked to, and we're going to get into our first story here, but I got into a conversation with somebody who is on the Hill, and I was asking about this Tony Gonzales situation, and the mood was, I mean, fucking whatever. He leaves, he stays, we're all cooked. Like, we lose the majority, we keep the majority. It was just like, it was like that scene in I Think You Should Leave when Tim Robinson is in all the big makeup, and he's just like, I don't even want to be around anymore. I got too much shit on me. I'm curious to know from that person, I haven't talked to him again today, whether or not the mood is more buoyant, because I think for the Republicans in that room, you saw a vision for a message that you could take for the midterms in a way that was not there before. And the Democrats looked befuddled and stupid and didn't know when to stand up or sit down, because after they all got pantsed on the like, stand up if you like illegal, or sit down if you like illegal immigrants thing, then they started standing for stuff afterward that were more bipartisan. So I don't know. We'll see.
It's all so dumb.
It is. They should
dumb.
They should do it by email.
It used to be that the president would submit a letter, because like all it says is that he has to tell Congress the State of the Union. It doesn't say that it has to be this big stupid thing where people are standing and sitting and yelling, and Al Green with like black people aren't apes. Like, what are we doing?
Is that what his sign said?
That's what his sign said. Yeah.
It's insane. Like, let's just stop.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
got kicked out of the speech for that.
I'm very
Again,
much
doing it in the
that.
first 5 minminutes because he is old.
It's like that might have been the smart move, because like Hank Green fell asleep at one point. Because the guys in the middle used to just get drunk. Even like 10 years ago, you could see them and you're like, that, okay, Inhofe's had a few. When they're like 85, they probably have to worry about glucose spikes if they have whiskey at 8 p.m. or something. So they can't do that. So they're following. That might have been a brilliant strategic thing on his end, where he's just like, I'm going to get kicked out in 5 minutes, go home, watch
Yeah.
Matlock, go to sleep.
Exactly.
But I'm with you both. Like, I think it's a stupid practice. We don't have a king. We shouldn't have an address to Parliament where the king, as the sovereign, is the sun that all political news revolves around because he's made his address to the legislative branch. Like, it ought to just be, hey, here's the state of the national debt. Here's what we've been working on. All of that. Like, I don't think
This could have been an email.
I don't know when we switched over. Like, Jefferson would do that. Jefferson would just write a letter. But I think everybody since Jefferson, with maybe the exception of Carter one time, like, just they love it. They can't, like, they love doing it. It's their own personal Oscars.
It's unbroken TV time. You know, they're never going to give that up. There's something that I think you would like, Jen. Did you see the clip of the stock ban moment?
Yes, but I don't remember it.
So Trump called on Congress to ban members of Congress and their families from trading stocks. And then the Democrats stood up and he's like, wow, I can't believe they stood up. Did Nancy stand up?
Oh, I didn't see that. I
Yeah.
saw that people were pointing at him being like, you benefit from your office. That part I saw. Yeah, Nancy deserves to get called out for that.
Yeah.
So do a lot of Republicans.
Yeah,
It's a
I agree.
bipartisan scandal.
That was an odd moment when he was talking about cutting out corruption in government. And I was like,
Oh, yeah. JD Vance got his vice presidential suicide mission. That's a rite of passage. Every vice president gets a mission that's fucking impossible to complete, but the president needs to say that he cares about it. So he says, go ahead, little buddy. You go ahead and take that one on. And Kamala got the border and Pence got solving COVID. Like, you know, there's a grand tradition of this. And JD Vance finally got his. Just stop fraud and balance the budget by stopping fraud.
Oh, good luck, JD.
Yeah.
This is where his loyalty is going to pay off, like it
Although-
always does with Trump.
The only thing that I could say that would be beneficial is that it could just be a state-sponsored way that he is able to just go after Gavin Newsom and California state fraud, of which there is plenty to choose from. From Austin, Texas, I'm Justin Robert Young. Also from Austin, Texas.
I'm Jen Briney.
And from Washington, D.C.
I'm Andrew Heaton.
And we're not wrong on this edition of the show. We're going to talk about Tony Gonzales, a insane scandal. Insane scandal.
Yeah.
And the Olympic spirit culture wars. All that plus your emails. Let's go ahead and get into it. Tony Gonzales is facing scrutiny after text messages have surfaced between him and his former staffer, Regina Santos-Aviles. The messages, which reportedly obtained from a forensic review of her phone, show Gonzales sending explicit and flirtatious texts, including requests for photos. Santos-Aviles died by suicide in September of 25, and her family has linked emotional distress in part to the alleged relationship with her former boss. Some lawmakers and critics have called for Gonzales to resign, citing ethical concerns and power dynamics between a member of Congress and a staffer. Gonzales denies wrongdoing, disputes claims of an improper affair, and says the controversy is politically motivated. Gonzales is running against YouTuber Brandon Herrera in the GOP primary. Early voting began this week, and Election Day is March 3rd. Jen, should Tony Gonzales resign? Should he declare he's not seeking election, or should he stay the course?
Oh my God. This one's so bonkers. I think the reason this has become such a big deal is because the affair happened with someone who not only killed herself, but did it in just the worst possible way. Like, she set herself on fire in her backyard. And so I think just the horrificness of what she did.
And there's a video of it.
Yeah, which we haven't seen. It's not in the internet. They're saying they're holding it back so that her 8-year-old son never sees it, which I completely support. This is not something we need to see.
Yeah.
But when I look at the situation as a whole, I do think the affair clearly had something to do with her suicide. But one of the parts of this story that I didn't realize is that it wasn't like she was having an affair with her boss. The boss wouldn't let it go. He was hounding her and hounding her and hounding her. And then she just killed herself. It turned out that her husband found out about the affair. And then her husband informed everyone in her office that she was having the affair with her boss. So this went from being something that was in her personal life to being completely uncontained, affecting her professional life, affecting the rest of her career. Her husband left her. Like, I think a lot of this has to do with the husband. So it's like, you look at her situation, yes, she killed herself, but I don't see this as a situation where she was being bullied by Gonzales and only Gonzales that led her to an early grave. Like, I just don't see it that clear cut. That said, Tony Gonzales pulled a major Me Too violation by sleeping with a staffer, also continues to lie about it, which is not great. But at the end of the day, this is not a man that I would ever vote for, not only because I don't share his politics, but I do think this goes to speak to character. But all of this does not really affect his district. So I don't think that he has to resign over it. It's a bad look that he doesn't. It shows someone who doesn't really care about this woman. Like, it's the whole thing gives me
Are
the
you
ick.
being paid by Speaker Mike Johnson?
He is the last person that would be giving me money. But I like to separate personal issues from issues that directly affect the district. Now, did this affect the office? It did. But I don't know that it would have affected it so much had the husband not stepped in and made their personal problems the entire office's personal problems. So in a way, it affected the district. Like I said, I wouldn't vote for him, but does this rise to the level of, like, you know, Bob Menendez taking gold bars to help Egypt with shit? Like, that's something that affects the job so directly that I think resignation was more than warranted. This one's way grayer for me. He gives me all kinds of ick. I hope he is out of Congress sooner than later, but I'm not screaming resign, resign, resign here. I'm hoping that his district fires him in the primary, and then if not in the primary, in November. And then just, like, realistically, if you were looking at this like a Republican, they have a razor thin margin of error in the House of Representatives. So forcing him to resign over something that really doesn't directly affect the district could really hurt the party. Now, as someone who hates what the Republican Party is doing right now, resign, motherfucker. But it's not about me. Like, it's not good for his party. I don't think his district is necessarily hurt. So do I think he should resign if I take my own politics out of it? I'm 60-40. No, he shouldn't.
I mean, before we go to Heaton, the threshold for conduct in Congress stops before she dies. It is just, it is initiating an affair. And, you know, the text that came out, for folks who have not seen it, earmuffs if you were listening to this with kids in the car, but he asks her favorite sexual position and then volunteers his, asks for a naked picture, and then just whenever you do something embarrassing, you better hope that it's long and verbose and not a bumper sticker. And unfortunately, he gave a brevity is the soul of wit text message, anal ?
Oh God, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, just to his staffer, anal ?
Classy man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like the Me Too of it all. I really, like I said,
but that's beyond just, you know, a public shaming thing. That there are rules in Congress that you cannot do this. That you cannot.
Are there? Because it happens so much in like, are there?
But rarely you get caught in flagrante delicto like has happened here.
If she didn't kill herself, would we even be talking about this? Like,
probably not.
Probably not.
But she did, and we are.
I know. And it's like, if he resigns, great for a lot of reasons. If he doesn't, like I said, I'm 60-40 no on this, just because, like, all of this makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. But I do think there is a difference between using your office to help a foreign country, using your office to enrich yourself, using your, like, this isn't a situation.
Your threshold for a demand for resignation goes beyond sleeping with a staffer, even if it is against the rules.
Does. Because I think just like the nature of personal relationships, a lot of times you have personal relationships with the people you spend the most time with. And a lot of times that's the people in the office. And when it doesn't work out, it becomes scandal. Yeah. When it does, no one gives a shit. So it's one of those things, like, they were both married at the time. She wasn't underage. She chose to be in that relationship. I don't know the timeline of those text messages. So those text messages ring less inappropriate if they are in the middle of an affair. So I don't really
this was
know
the beginning. This was the beginning of it. According to the husband and his lawyer, that was the beginning. That is how he initiated it.
The husband is a fucking situation too. Like, he doesn't seem to take any responsibility for his role in all of this, because like the husband is still pushing all of this out, like making sure that everyone knows what she did, like literally texted everyone in her office to make sure that this became a scandal in her career. He's kind of a piece of shit too. And he wasn't in the affair. So how the hell does he know the timeline? So it's like, I just feel like those text messages, whether it's the beginning of the affair or the middle of the affair, if it's not happening when she's already saying no to him, especially if it's in the beginning, if it worked, like he's texting her this stuff and then they start sleeping together, is that flirting, or is that like obviously inappropriate because of the office dynamics of it? But again, if that affair had turned into they're in love and now they're married, we wouldn't be talking about any of this. So it's like,
no, but it ended with her on fire in her backyard.
Yeah, which is why we're talking about this.
Yeah.
It's really bad, but I do think the husband had a role in that. Like, I do think that him telling the entire office played a role in that. I don't think it was 100% Tony Gonzales that was leading this woman to be horribly depressed. Like, that man, her husband, outed her, took away her son. Like, there was a lot of stuff going on there. So I think this is a very messy personal situation. I think Tony Gonzales is a slime ball. Again, I don't want him representing me, but does any of this affect his ability to bring dollars into the district? Does that affect his ability to do constituent services? Like, that's where I don't really know. And so
well, he apparently has not been showing up in the Uvalde area, which is where she lived, because he doesn't want to face anybody in that town, because it's a pretty small town and the word has gotten around on it. Heaton, your thoughts?
I would like to just appreciate for a moment the ratcheting effect of American scandal. Imagine if in the 1990s, a member of Congress was being questioned on whether or not they should resign or run because they had an affair with a staffer who killed herself by setting herself on fire on her front porch. I think that it would be done. I think that 20 years ago, it would be like, yep, that's that. No thing about that. And now, like, we're debating it. He's debating it. There seems to be a creep of what people can get away with that is lamentable, but appears to be where we're at. So here's how I'm approaching this. Under normal circumstances, I would say that there's a difference between your personal life and your professional life. So if somebody has an affair, it does make me question whether they're honest or not. Like, if somebody's cheating on their wife and they're my accountant or my attorney, it does make me go, well, if your wife can't trust you, why should I trust you? So people that have affairs do automatically get a deduction in points from me in terms of whether or not I would vote for them. It wouldn't necessarily mean they'd get knocked out. If we knocked out everybody in Congress that had an affair, it would just, I guess, be Mike Johnson. I don't know. It would be a pretty small amount, right? But we're not talking here about just the vertical of personal life and having an affair, in which case I would say it's really kind of, how comfortable you are with a scumbag representing you. There are some really good politicians that were known for keeping dicks, all over the place. In this instance, there's a interaction going on where it wasn't just personal life scumbaggery, it was professional life scumbaggery, where he was first hitting on and getting rebuffed and hitting on a staffer, which in and of itself is problematic. If he were in the private sector, they should just fire him. Like, if a manager were hitting on and sexually harassing, which is what that is, a subordinate, that's a problem. They should be fired. That's it. If it works out long term, maybe. But in the meantime, though, that in and of itself would be grounds for dismissal. So I think where I would come down on this is, if he were a member of the Senate, he should resign, because in that instance, the governor could fill that vacant seat with somebody else, and the state would still have representation until the next election. In a congressional scenario, were he to step down, the district would be deprived of a member of Congress for that time. So I don't think I'd have him step down. I think I'd have him fill out the rest of his term, but he absolutely shouldn't run again. And his district absolutely shouldn't vote for him. He should announce that he is not going to seek re-election. I also stick by the idea that public service is a privilege. It's not a right. It's not something that you should build your entire identity and livelihood around permanently. It's something that you should do for a while and be able to exit. And so this is sufficient grounds for him going, I shouldn't be serving here anymore. This is going to affect my ability to be a member of Congress. I would stick around because he's already been elected and he would be depriving the district of representation, but he should drop out of the race. And if for some weird reason he doesn't, they should absolutely vote for somebody else. Where I'll give him a little bit of wiggle room, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll give a little bit of wiggle room in two different things. So it's an absolutely horrible death. An absolutely horrible death. The nature of the death makes me think that there might well have been some other mental health issues going on as well. Somebody that kills himself through immolation, that is a profound, sad, absolutely horrible way to die. And so
there are questions of whether or not she meant to kill herself, whether or not this was a cry for help that went wrong, or if this was an intentional. The husband maintains that she was not trying to kill herself. She was trying to make a big scene to get his attention.
Maybe. And on that grounds, I'm not going to put her suicide on him. If it turns out there's a trove of text messages of him saying you should just kill yourself, or I'm going to ruin your family unless you kill yourself or something, sure. I would fall short of doing that. I think the thing that I'm concerned about is you have a guy sexually harassing a staffer. That should be grounds for dismissal from a job. With the husband, I don't know the ins and outs of this. I can understand a husband who is having an affair being angry and wanting to out the person. If he thought she was mentally unstable and she was going to kill herself, no, he shouldn't have done that. But I would assume no one thought those cards were on the table. And so him wanting to shame her, I understand the impulse of wanting to do that. But no, the main point is I don't think I would have him resign, but I would have him drop out, and they shouldn't vote for him.
The only reason I keep bringing up the husband is that there seems to be, like, if you just look at the headlines of this, it seems to be Gonzales had an affair with staffer. She killed herself, as in one caused the other. And I do think there was another key player in this that is not in those headlines. That's why I bring it up. It's not like Gonzales did all these things. This is on him. I don't think that's true.
Yeah, and
there were other players.
I'm hesitant to put the suicide on anybody. As horrible as those situations are, I mean, like, I've had friends commit suicide, and one of the first things you do is you think about, could I have done something? Could I have stepped in?
Yeah.
Am I somehow morally culpable for this? And for people that are in that situation, I don't think that's a healthy place to be. I don't think that's the right place to be. It's really, really sad when somebody kills themselves, and we can look at it like they made a bad decision, or we can look at it like it's a mental health issue, but the onus lies with them. And with the exception of extremely, extremely peripheral and insane situations where someone like attempts to goad someone into killing themselves. So I'm not going to put the culpability of suicide on anybody in the situation. I'm concerned with the fact he was sexually harassing a staffer.
There's no doubt that he began the chain of events. Now, what everybody's culpability is down the chain is something that is obviously still being uncovered, and we might never know the reality of it. Tony Gonzales seems to believe that there is more culpability to be put on the husband. There was a report by the San Antonio News-Express that the woman in question, when being attended to by medics in her backyard, said that she did this because her soon-to-be ex-husband, as they had announced, or he had made the decision that they were going to begin divorcing, was seeing her best friend, and that was the reason why she took the action that she did. That being said,
the lingo was that her husband, she was doing it because her husband was angry that she was having an affair with her best friend, the best friend being the member of Congress. That was my read, but it was that he was having an affair with her best friend?
That's a thing that I read, but who knows? I mean, again, a lot of this is something that we're not going to know because those records are sealed. Ironically, by Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, who's in a Senate race of his own.
Well, that guy's a straight shooter. You can trust him.
God, there's a Cornyn ad that just came out today that called him a wife cheat fraud. It is like brutal. Is the Senate Republican Senatorial Committee ad that says that he's getting divorced on biblical grounds, and now he's catting around with a mother of 7, breaking up another home. Anyway.
But this is that level of common. I mean, Andrew's not wrong that like there has been a slippery slope of this. I mean, President Clinton got to keep his job after fucking a staffer for a few years. This is what happens.
Not to sully our genteel world of the past, but let's say there was a politician and this mistress in the process of having an affair didn't die by fire, but I don't know, just think of another element, maybe water. That wouldn't preclude a Kennedy from running for Senate again, like as it didn't for Ted.
Decades.
Literally.
For decades.
So it's not like we have not been in a world where gross stuff like this has.
Our current
has
president,
happened.
I'm pretty sure, was cheating on his pregnant wife with a porn star. I'm pretty sure that was a storyline and didn't stop him from getting elected. So it's like, let's not clutch our pearls too tightly.
But would you want to bang Donald Trump in the third trimester? Come on. You'd rather outsource then. This is gross. I will tell you what I know the majority wants. And when I asked you if you were being paid by Mike Johnson, because I thought for sure you were going to come in guns blazing and say, look, if Gonzales resigns, then we are only one really bad case of the flu away from Speaker Hakeem Jeffries.
I would prefer that, but this isn't about my politics.
And I appreciate your principled stance. That is what the majority wants. The majority desperately wants Brandon Herrera to win in that primary that is happening right now, that will have a final climactic vote on March 3rd. And either they want it in a runoff or they want it to be done on March 3rd. They hope the world has soured of Tony Gonzales and he just fritters off into obsolescence, still being a member of Congress, just in case they really, really, really need a vote. But that's the reason why you haven't seen a lot of people go so hard on him, is because they don't want him to resign.
Yeah.
They want him to just, hey, take your lumps. Here's the thing about him being a liar, because he is a liar, Tony Gonzales. This first broke in November.
Yeah.
Like, this has been out there. The only thing that wasn't out there was the text messages. And first there was a text message from the staffer to another staffer friend of hers saying, I slept with our boss. So she was also telling people on the staff. I don't know if, exactly.
Saying I slept with my boss, which means if I'm okay, you're okay. That was what she texted.
Yeah.
Like you have something going on in your life, but like I slept with my boss and I'm okay. So if I'm getting through this, like you'll be fine. That was the context of that.
Well, I mean, just in terms of who knew and when they knew and exactly
totally.
what the case is.
The idea that affair is what made her set herself on fire.
No, it was the dissolution of her marriage.
Yeah.
That was caused, according to the husband, by the affair.
Yeah.
And so, but that being said, Tony Gonzales went out and lied about it. He's lied about it on the record. He was at the Texas Tribune Festival, was asked about it, and he's like, yeah, absolutely not true. So it's like, dude, you're on text message asking for anal. Like, and by the way, we'll see how much they want to drop the hammer on him. But Julie Grace Brufke, who has been on top of this story from the very beginning, she was on PX3 this week to go through it. My understanding is they pulled everything off that cell phone. And what we got so far was the very beginning of the relationship and the husband proving that he told other people in the office so nobody can say that they didn't know, right? What we don't see is the active affair portion. And from what I have heard, there are pictures, possibly pictures of her, possibly pictures of him. Like, if you think it's bad now, it's going to be worse if those are out there. And I think he's toast. And the question is only whether or not he says that he is just folding his cards on the election. Although the majority, again, just hopes he gets outvoted, that he just loses, and preferably loses by over 50% so they wouldn't have to go through a runoff and face more questions about it.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/where not wrong is where you need to go if you want to get a bonus episode of this show. And oh my God, if you like a happy Andrew Heaton, you're going to love this bonus episode. Because if there's one thing that you need to know about Sweet Andy Heats, it's that he is a delicate chrysanthemum flower when it comes to his sleep, and he needs it to be as cold and as dark as possible. He's like a vintage bottle of wine. He needs to be in a damp, dark cellar. Yeah. The one thing he hates the most is anything next to road noise. He will pay extra. He will move further away if he is further away from the road. And friends, we have found a study, a large-scale European study that says sleeping next to road noise will kill you. Has a measurable effect on heart attacks. Andrew Heaton takes a very sleepy victory lap on our Patreon bonus episode. Be there for that. Who is America allowed to root for? That is the question. The American Winter Olympians delivered gold in 3 elusive categories last week after spectacular performances, and yet, as it is wont to do, politics intervened. First, Alyssa Liu captured gold in women's figure skating for the first time that an American has done it in that event since 2002. She had a wide coalition of support, something that made me very, very happy. Progressives who supported her, the Oakland natives' unapologetic stances off the ice. Body positivity activists who supported her decision to take charge of her preparation, which was a big story as she went back into competition this year. And China Hawks, who loved that she was the child of a Tiananmen Square protester. But yet, there were some on the left that found it galling, and MAGA supporters that they would possibly support somebody who disagreed with them on political opinions. Next, the women's national ice hockey team drew bipartisan applause for their gold over Canada, but became a lightning rod when they declined an opportunity to be a part of the State of the Union. That happened last night. Although Donald Trump did from the podium say that there was going to be a White House event with them. We'll see whether or not that happens. Meanwhile, the United States men's national hockey team victory was celebrated as a throwback moment of unity until video of FBI Director Kash Patel appeared celebrating in the locker room. The team got a call from President Trump and indeed did accept the invitation to visit the White House and appear during the State of the Union, drawing condemnation from many. Mr. Andrew Heaton, is the political backlash of the Olympic winners appropriate?
I think it's overstated, and it's part of the ongoing process of turning everything in America into a political event and everything in America into a culture war event. I like that people are rooting for America during the Olympics. I think it was great that people were overlooking the politics of people playing to root for them because they were on Team America. That's where I want people to be. In terms of where the ire is here, there's a few stories you mentioned. There was some amount of anger that was floating around about Kash Patel because he flew to Milan in order to be at the Olympics. Yeah. And my read on that is like, I don't like it. It's not exactly corruption because there was a reason for the FBI to be there. There's lots of Americans there, so it made some degree of sense. But it's what politicians do this all the time. Like when I worked for Congress, there are codels. Staffers do this too, by the way. If you're there long enough, the French Ministry of Art will fly over staffers and member of Congress to go do a thing. Or alternately, where it becomes problematic is Congress will do it, where Congress will have some amount of money and they'll go, well, we're going to go on a fact-finding mission to
a water park
to a water park in Nice, France. We're going to do it on the taxpayer dime. Politicians love doing that because it's a free vacation, and if taxpayers are funding it, I don't like it. It's not illegal. It's kind of a soft taking advantage of the situation kind of graft thing. I thought Kash Patel was doing that sort of thing where he didn't do anything illegal, but he wanted a free vacation to go hang out at the Olympics, and he did it on the public dime. It's not. It's like this is like a parking violation level offense in terms of political graft. The hockey situation with the women's one. So what went on there was Kash Patel, who I believe plays hockey in D.C., was hanging out with the
massive hockey fan, plays rec league hockey in D.C. Yeah.
He which, by the way, if he'd gone there on his own dime, I would have been like, that's fine, take a vacation. Then I wouldn't have any problem with it.
Well, he can't fly private, right?
He's not allowed to
fly. No, he's not allowed to fly private. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll have to eat my words on that one then. He called the president, and they're having their celebratory moment. And the thing that Trump got in trouble for was he's congratulating everybody, and he says, you've got to come to the White House I'll have to invite the women's team or I'll get impeached. Everybody laughed. And there's anger that has turned the historic women's hockey team victory into yet another Trump point, and also to turn it from a impressive athletic feat on behalf of those athletes and the United States into a kind of girls also situation. I understand why that rankles people. I don't think that this is a particularly bad example of Trump saying things. And I say that because we have thousands of examples of Trump willfully saying asshole things because he is an asshole and trying to intentionally make the conversation about him. An example would be, I don't know, maybe when Rob Reiner was murdered and he decided to go out and talk about how Rob Reiner was deranged, and like that kind of shit is like, yes, he's being a complete fucking asshole. Your ire is correct there. With the hockey situation, my read on it was that the president was basically saying, like, we're living in a very politically correct time. If I invite you, I'm going to have to invite the women's team or I'll get in trouble. And it struck me as kind of a very minor shooting from the hip pot shot at political correctness. Also, he didn't know that he was, to my knowledge, being recorded or that this was public.
I assume he knew that. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm for the many times that I'm willing to say Trump is an asshole who says horrible things, debases the presidency, and sows discord and hatred within our country, for which he should be vilified by all Americans. This one does not strike me as one of them. And I'm hesitant to jump in because I don't think we should get into the situation of being so inflamed by Trump's awfulness that we just instinctively react that way. I think it also makes it more difficult to make the case to people that like him if we just act there. So I was not set on fire by that particular instance. And I thought that most of the rancor that surrounded the Olympics in general was really just the fact that pundits want to try to make hay over culture war stuff because it gets eyeballs, and we ought to just leave it as a fun thing America comes together to do.
Jen?
Yeah, when I look at this whole hockey situation, I watched the clip to see what everyone, because I did see a lot of stuff on my social media about women being all pissed off about it. The women on the hockey team, as we saw last night, did not go to the State of the Union and instead went to party with Flava Flav in Vegas.
Is that really happening?
I guess so. Yeah, because now he's inviting all the women Olympians, which, like, go Flava Flav. That's great.
Yeah.
No shade on Flava Flav. But when I look at the video, Trump says, I mean, Andrew said it pretty much correctly in the way that I heard it. He was essentially telling the men, you're going to share the spotlight at the State of the Union.
Yeah.
And I heard it as like, can you imagine if I didn't invite them? Like, they would impeach my ass, which is true.
Yes.
Like, he was just acknowledging, like, can you imagine if I didn't invite the women? Like, whoo, would I take it? And he ended up taking shit anyway. Like, of all, and I don't even think I'm judging on a Trump scale here. I don't think it was that bad of a comment. I think this is a lot to do about nothing. And the fact that the men's hockey team is taking shit for this, in the middle of that comment, Trump says, I'm inviting you to the State of the Union. I'm also going to invite the women. You hear one of the guys in the back go, two for two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, they were proud of the women.
Of course. Yeah.
And yet they're taking shit for accepting a invitation by the president of the United States to go to the State of the Union. They just represented our country. I see that as respecting the office. Like, had I been invited to the White House by George W. Bush, I didn't like the son of a bitch. I would go because it's the president of the United States. You just won a gold medal for the country. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with going. And when I look at the reaction of the women refusing to go, saying, like, taking the invitation of Flava Flav over the president, I don't love that look. Give me just a second.
Okay, go ahead,
I understand the pushback. I'm expecting to get it. But I feel like women have this reputation as hysterical, and I don't like it. And I think that this doesn't help us. That a comment that is not that big of a deal is being this overblown on social media, and the women don't show up to the State of the Union. I hope they do go to the White House. Like, I understand disliking Trump. I know that he's in the fucking Epstein files. But at the same time, he is the president of the United States. And so I just find the whole backlash to that comment and the overreaction to it makes us look hysterical. It's exactly what we get accused of. And so, and also the backlash against the men's hockey team, like, this is unfair for them. Like, I think it really sucks the way they're being dragged because the president made a joke that, like, was it the funniest joke ever? No. But what are they supposed to do? Protest and throw Kash Patel out of the locker room? Like, what were you expecting them to do in that moment? So I think a lot of it is really unfair. And I just think it's a really bad look for women to be like, oh, we're offended.
Yeah.
We're not going to come. Like, can we stop? Can we stop? Because that way, when we do get offended by something that's actually offensive, we might be taken more seriously.
I would, number one, I agree largely with your point, and I'm glad you said it because
you can't.
Because imagine if I said it, I'd be impeached. In defense of the women, I think an element of this that's being missed is that, like, the men in that room are millionaires. They are all members with a collective bargaining agreement in a league that pays them hundreds of thousands of dollars at the very minimum, and they're at the top of it. So they are all making millions of dollars. They can go and do whatever they want, even if it meant missing a game check to go to the State of the Union. They can kind of afford it. Women athletes, and this is the thing that I think is undersold when it comes to marketing women's athletics, is that if you want to see athletes that are playing in the way that athletes were playing in the 60s, in the 70s, when they oftentimes had to do day jobs when the season was out because they were making money, but not enough money to live a life of luxury. That's women's athletics right now. And a lot of these women have responsibilities that they can't just kind of take the day off of. So I'm going to give the women, their statement was very gracious. You have not seen members of that team take big, angry political stances on it. So I'm going to take them at their word and say, this was a scheduling thing that they couldn't just flip out and do it the State of the Union in 2 days. They're going to do a White House event. We'll leave that for that. Jen is giving me a scancy pants. Look, fine. Okay. The joke, the joke is the Trump joke. He started the call by saying, like, the goalie, Hellebuck, okay, Gabe.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he does, is he does, like, and everyone's like, oh, it's like, I'm kidding, you're amazing, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, I read it the way that you read it, Jen, where it's like, we're going to buy you a new horse. We have to get one for your sister, just so you know. We have to do it. Your mom would be so mad. Imagine how mad your mom would be if I didn't get your sister a horse. Like, that's what I read it as. And I think it's unfortunate that the men's hockey team got caught up in the idea that they were, look, do I think that if you were to test all of, honesty test everybody on both the men's and the women's hockey team for who really likes Donald Trump personally, probably going to have more of the dudes than the women that would say, yeah, we think he's a really cool guy.
They probably don't mind being props for Donald Trump as much.
I think they think he's a cool dude. I think they think Kash Patel is a cool dude. Now, do I think that hockey players are the kind of mental models that you should be formulating your political world opinions on for all of their tremendous gifts? No,
like being able to take hits to the head repeatedly.
Yeah, like getting your teeth smashed out and then scoring the game-winning goal. Like, that is a skill set that doesn't necessarily apply to, like, the political worldview in a 2-year, 5-year, and 50-year cycle. That being said, let the meatheads be meatheads. It's fine. Everybody doesn't have to have your political opinion. Not everything has to be politics. And you want to know what? I love it. I think that it is a testament to the United States of America that we have the woke chick who goes to the Berkeley encampment from Oakland that wins the figure skating gold medal. I love that. I love that. And I love that if there's members of the ice hockey team that are like, hey, Kash Patel's awesome. You want to chug beers because Donald Trump's so cool, that they won the gold medal for us. This is the freedom of expression that makes America the country that it is. I am more proud that we have this kind of political diversity that wins, mostly because they won. In your face, Canada. Not
there
once, but twice. Oh, you smug little pieces of shit. All you ever wanted to do. Because, it wasn't just, hey, good game, bud. No, they're crashing out right now all over Canada. They can't believe it. They hate to see us winning. Oh God,
If
it was
I was
so
still
amazing.
drinking, Justin, I would be finishing my beer right now. I knew you were going to go there.
They can all eat it. They can all eat it.
I think we're basically on one accord on this. I'll split the difference a little bit. I don't mind that the women's team didn't go to the State of the Union address. If I got invited to the State of the Union address, I'd go because I want to see what it's like. But like if someone said, I really just don't like the president and I don't want to be there, I wouldn't fault them for it. I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't think that I don't think you have to do tuppence to the president during pageantry or you're insulting the country. So I don't have a problem with the hockey team going to. Also, really, if anything, I just wish Flava Flav had done the alternate State of the Union address. I think that would have been amazing if the Democrats had, I don't know who they trotted out this time. Like no one ever cares.
Four people.
Yeah,
they did
so
like four
many.
different alternate ones just to show you that they're really organized and ready to take back the majority. Here's
literally
7 alternate State of the Unions, including one of them with inflatable frogs. Like it was fucking psychotic. Anyway,
It would have been better for Flava Flav to do it. If Flava Flav had just done an alternate State of the Union address where he talked about whatever he wants to talk about and then said vote Democrat and then it cut to the hockey ladies giving the thumbs up, like that would have been fine. It would have been better.
Yeah, I have no problem with the women doing whatever they want. And in general, I think I said this on the show before. If you win gold, talk your shit. I don't care. I don't care. If you didn't medal, stick to sports. Stick to sports. But if you made it to the stand, bronze, maybe a little opinion, silver more, but gold, talk your shit. Say whatever you want. Go ahead and post an act blue or a win red. I don't give a fuck.
The only true negative I can see coming out of these Winter Olympics and our success is if women all over the United States start going with the raccoon chic hairstyle of that figure skater.
Alyssa Liu.
Oh my God, ladies, please don't. Please don't. I'm just begging you. Let's not do this.
She was awesome.
She was amazing.
That's like a Star is Born moment.
Yeah.
She is such an effervescent personality. And it was one of those routines where it's like, I don't ever watch figure skating at all. And usually it's decided on technicalities and physical things that I just don't understand because I don't follow the sport. But that was one of those routines where you're like, oh yeah, no, that's the best. Yeah. Like she, the way she moved.
She had so much fun.
Yeah. That was, I think I saw a quote from a Russian coach that was like, Russians will never skate like that because they don't skate with joy.
I remember Oksana Bayul. She was the Russian that won. And it was just like, there was a tightness to it. It was perfection.
Yeah.
But the way that, what's her name?
Alyssa Liu.
Alyssa, yeah. The way that she skated, there was something very American about it. Just very like fluid. And I don't know, I really dug it. But that hairstyle, honey, please don't do this to this country.
Yeah, I think you, I'm looking at the hairstyle.
Popular.
No, I don't. And it's coming. It's going to start in the Bay Area and then it's going to spread like a virus. Let's not do this.
You need to have a gold medal to pull that hairstyle off. If she's wearing a gold medal, she could do it. I don't think it's going to work on anybody else.
Yeah, she can do it.
It's apparently a self-dyed job, or at least it started. It started as that. She got it professionally done eventually, but she does it every 2 years. So that's why there's 3 stripes, because she's doing it as it grows out. So it's only going to keep going.
So you're telling me 4 years from now, it's just going to be everywhere.
4 stripes. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, the other thing that was part of this that we probably would have if the hockey team hadn't been so present was there was the Lou versus Goo issue.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
So,
the girl that was doing all those interviews.
So, yeah, Elaine Goo, I believe her name is. She is a free skater that born and raised in San Francisco.
She looks real white to me.
But has Chinese parents or a Chinese parent. And the Chinese government came to her and said, hey, would you like millions of dollars to compete for us? And she said, yes. Alyssa Liu got the same deal. And because her dad was a Tiananmen Square protester, said no. Now, Goo wound up, she wanted to win 3 gold. She only won 1. Alyssa Liu won the big one that she was going for. But that was another big thing was like, I don't know. I liked it. I like
don't
Alyssa
give-
Liu. Alyssa Liu was great. It was so awesome, man, to watch all the body positivity feminists were like, finally, like she took control of her own life. And like, you know, because she had quit skating and she said, I'm only going to skate if I get to do my diet and I get to do my schedule and everything. They're like, yeah. And all the woke people are like, fucking woke is back. Look at her weird mouth piercing. And then all like the National Review China Hawk people are like, fuck communism. We finally defeated it with ruffles and sequins. And I was like, fucking, oh, what a brilliant group of people. I just want to hug all of you together.
She united America.
And Marshawn Lynch was like, do it for the yay area.
But as for the lady that skated for China, I'm thinking of so many of our like basketball players that play for other countries. So I feel like the backlash against her was pretty unfair just because we tend to not like China for reasons. But we have plenty of American players that play for other countries if they have the ability to do so. So I have absolutely no problem with her.
Well, usually in basketball, they play for other countries because they're not going to get playing time on the American team.
Maybe, but like Pau Gasol wasn't one of those. Like there were.
Yeah, but he's like from Spain.
I know, but the point is that we have people that play for other countries and we don't like shun them and say that they're bad. I don't think that she's. Like,
I think that there is a difference between somebody who is like born and raised in America competing for another country versus somebody who is born in another country and comes to America to make a living.
I guess, but I don't know. If I was offered millions of dollars.
I know.
Like,
Jeez.
Dude.
Don't, please. I don't want to fucking go through the emails, of course. Yeah. Of course, Jen would sell out for China.
Don't worry. I don't even have the option.
We're not wrongpod@gmail.com. Speaking of emails is where you go to write into the program. Snow Person Says What writes, while Heaton is correct in saying Finland doesn't typically count as Scandinavian, his Nordo-Scandinavia isn't a term that is used. Scandinavia and the three kingdoms who have mutually intelligible Germanic languages, all historically located on the Scandinavian peninsula. Now, Sweden won Scania from Denmark in the 1600s, and Denmark lost Norway to Sweden in 1814. So today, Denmark isn't technically geographically Scandinavian, but are still counted as such due to history, language, and culture. The Nordics are all the 5 countries in Northern Europe that have been part of the old Kalmar Union, whether their language is Germanic or not, and whether their language is intelligible with others or not. So here, Finland and Iceland come in. The definition also includes self-governing territories such as Greenland and the Faroe Islands, as well as the Åland Islands. Finally, the term that might have confused Heaton is the much less used Fennoscandia, which encompasses Norway, Sweden, Finland, and the Kola Peninsula in Russia. The last one is a purely geographic term with no common usage. Don't you feel like a real snowy asshole?
I feel like a complete moron. Yes, I think I was groping for Finno-Scandinavia. Thank you, not Nordo-Scandinavia. I think this is so dumb. Just call yourself Scandinavians. This is ridiculous. Like it's like literally what I was over there. Everybody I've talked, like I met with a delegation from Sweden maybe 4 months ago here in DC, and like mentioned, I was like, I don't get it. Like they speak Uralic and they're pretty much identical to you in every way in terms of political economy and governance, but you guys speak Germanic, and they're like, no, they're completely different. It's like to me. It's like Missouri and Arkansas going, what are you talking about? Missouri's 1,000 times different than Arkansas. It's like, but can you see where I'm coming from in terms of the overlap? I'll call it Fendo-Scandinavia, but in my heart, it's all Scandinavia.
And you call it whatever the hell you want. We love our hedonisms on this show. And this is where I'm going to sound like a real American. All of these differences you just told us about, we don't give a shit.
Yeah,
we don't care at all.
We don't care.
Yeah.
We don't care.
Thanks for the information. I blacked out after the second sentence.
Yeah.
Like, don't care. You're lucky I know where you are on a map.
Exactly. Yeah. About 2 sentences in, I was thinking about a Family Guy reel. Subscription Hopping writes, if we frame government services as a subscription service, then it naturally opens up the idea that we have competing services. We don't only have one streaming service like Netflix, but many, Disney Plus, Peacock, etc. Why only have one set of government services when you can have multiple competing against each other? The Democrats, Republicans, and Libertarians could each have their own service platforms. There are historic examples that can be drawn inspiration from, like the millet system of the Ottoman Empire or the pillarization in Netherlands and Belgium before World War II. There are also multiple science fictions examples. See Neil Stephenson's The Diamond Age or John C. Wright's Golden Octomeme. Also, the Sky Pirates of Venus series draws on this idea. Heaton?
Yeah, I like this, and I think there's something to this. We already kind of do that in the United States now. So, like, what you're making a distinction is should governmental bodies be based on like opt-in ideology, or should they be based on geography? And historically, we do everything geographically. It made sense. It makes less sense now, or at least we are a lot more liberated from geography than we used to be. I like the idea. I think competition's great. I think government works better when you can opt in and opt out, and there's pressure on it. I think variability is great. We have that to some extent in the United States right now, in that if you are forming a corporation, you might well do it in Delaware. Why? Because Delaware has great corporate law, and they've got judges there that are very familiar with corporate law. So if you end up getting in trouble, you'll be able to go to a court that you think will be able to handle the ins and outs of the regulatory system better than if you did it in Kentucky or wherever. And so we already kind of do that. Your corporation might be located in Oklahoma, but it's incorporated in Delaware. And that's kind of a way of doing what you're describing. If we could build upon that, that'd be terrific.
I just don't know how that would work in practice. Like, am I supposed to fund a Democratic road and not a Republican road? Do I fund both? Like, I think the purpose of government, at least the way I look at government, is government should be taking care of the services that we all collectively need on standby. And I just don't know how you do that if now all of a sudden we're setting up different services to do the same thing. Like, we kind of have that in healthcare, and it's an absolute fucking disaster. So the practicality of it, I just don't.
I see your point. And for some things it wouldn't work. Some things are always going to have to be geographic. Roads are a pretty good example of that. Like I can't live in Kentucky and opt for a California road system. Like it doesn't make any sense, right? Same with like police. You're probably not going to, for like criminal stuff. But for other things, I think you could do it. I mean, like healthcare is a decent example of that. Like we've got this weird patchwork thing all over the country. We have a series of state-sanctioned monopolies. If you were to have, say, the ability to operate within your state, within its healthcare system, but you could also opt into some kind of national model, I think that would be good. But that's a situation where you could be getting some kind of service, like things that are abstract, I guess is the way to put it. Things that are service oriented or informational are things that you could have that variability. Whereas things that are geographically rooted, I share your concern.
Yeah, I guess.
Sweet Heaton Brain writes, Dear Andrew, please stop using Bluetooth earbuds. Studies have shown that they increase dementia risk significantly. I love your brain and I hope it lasts a long, long time. I don't want Heaton to respond to this. I just want to point out that this emailer only referred to Heaton when we all wear Bluetooth earbuds.
I don't, to be fair. It's you that he doesn't care about.
Oh, okay.
I
think it was a woman for the record. Yeah. So,
you don't need a brain, Justin.
I guess not. No, yeah, they're the only one with a child. Sure, yeah, let's just melt this fucking melon.
Yeah. Hey, listener, thank you very much. I'll look into it. I'm unlikely to change my behavior, but I'll look into it, and I wish you good ovulating.
A solution
Oh my God.
A solution to fix Europe writes, I think it would be completely funny and more democratic if the top 2 or top 3 parties in parliamentary systems had to form a coalition government instead of trying to form coalitions with all the minor parties that only the weirdos support.
Yeah, they can do it now, can't they? It's just they don't want to.
No. It would be forced, right? So it's now instead of like, basically like we used to have the vice president used to be the runner-up in our presidential voting. It would be kind of like that, where it's like we are incentivizing a divided government by saying, all right, like in the UK, the government would essentially always be Labour plus conservative until somebody else were able to crack into the top 2. So you'd be incentivizing third parties not to make coalitions with the top party, but rather to try to build a broad enough base of support that they could become the number 2 party.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like we all already kind of do that with the filibuster, right? Like the filibuster, in effect, forces you to work with the other team.
Well, we don't do any shit like that because we're not dumb and run our country with a parliamentary system. We do it the smart way by having a fucking hard-on, all adrenaline, Red Bull fueled first past the post $1 trillion contest for popularity. That's the smart way to do it.
Here, what I would like is I would love it if state parties had to be completely unaffiliated with national parties. Like you had like the Farmers Party and the Farmers Party and the Urban Party. in Kansas, and that's different than the Republican and Democrat Party. In part because they do differ from state to state, and a lot of the time the shit that you're arguing about really isn't that partisan. Like we're arguing about urban versus rural, but it's never going to happen. Maybe New York kind of did it with their multi-part, or what do they call it, plurality voting. Where like in New York, you'll have the typically the Democrat will also get the endorsement of the Working People's Party, and the Republican will get, I can't remember what there's like the Republican Party and the Conservative Party. Like I like that kind of thing, although I don't think it's going to catch on.
You know, speaking of state parties or state candidates kind of diverging from the national hue, interesting moment last night as the State of the Union happened. John Fetterman shaking hands with Donald Trump.
Was he wearing actual pants?
Wearing a suit.
Oh, big day.
Wearing a suit. Also, maybe just my spider sense kind of going on. A lot of people asking inside Pennsylvania to other Pennsylvania people, hey, what do you think of Fetterman? What do you think of Fetterman? Josh Shapiro, the governor of that state, saying, well, you know, we're friendly, but we're not that friendly. They apparently have a feud. A story came out about that a few weeks ago. Obviously, Fetterman, a black sheep with the Democratic coalition. He's net popular in Pennsylvania, but that's because Republicans really like him. And Democrats, he will not get out of a Democratic primary.
Yeah.
Is there, the reason why you would never see him switch is A, because anybody who does that, it's essentially a death warrant at a certain point. Like
and he votes with Democrats most of the time.
Exactly. But the question then becomes, is there room for that person in the current version of the Republican Party? The biggest thing that you would say would be against that is fiscal policy and pro-choice. And I don't know if those are the hard lines that they used to be with this version of the Republican Party. If you were to say to Trump, hey, exactly John Fetterman's voting record, so he votes with you a negligible amount of the time, but he's a Republican, would you take it? I think he would.
But what's the point of having a Republican that doesn't vote with you?
He votes with you on.
Does he piss off Democrats? I'd say there's a hell of a lot of Republicans
he does
that just
vote.
want
He does
that.
vote with them on something. He'll break ranks with Democrats more than other Democrats will.
Yes, but like so this year with doing Last Week in Congress, I'm much more in tune with all of the different votes.
Yeah.
I would say the number of times he's done that, I can count them on less than one hand. Like it's not very often. I think that when it happens, it's stuff like the shutdown, which he thought was stupid.
Yeah.
And so he's very vocal about being like, no, this is stupid. I'm not supporting it. And so I think because he gets that much attention in those moments, you think he does it more often than he does. But he's a very consistent Democratic vote.
Yeah.
So I just don't think that's in the cards.
Hear me roar, right? So we're going to glaze over the fact that Heaton thinks that he could take out a bear with a machete.
I don't think I could take out a bear with a machete. I think I could piss it off. I think it'd kill me. Maybe a sun bear, or is it a moon bear? Moon bears are ridiculous. I think I could probably take out a moon bear. But no, like a brown bear, black bear, whatever. No, it'd probably kill me. But I'd be able to wound it, and then you all could avenge my death.
I don't think you could take out Teddy Ruxpin. On the Save America Act, Grand Bargain writes, make the big ask, purge voter rolls for federal elections every 2 years, require citizenship verification for registration, require in-person voting with photo ID for all but the narrowest range of exceptions, where states choose to use electronic balloting and counting, require physical copies of the ballots to be produced and retained for hand recounts. But you need to give something to get something. So offer to create a national voting holiday. They want money for states to issue IDs, give them that, and allocate money for passports. Practically free, and expand the USPS processing. Delay implementation until the 2028 federal elections. If your counterpart says yes, you've saved American elections. If your counterparts say no, you get to spend the next 3 election cycles spending every news hit saying that they can't win if they can't cheat, and connecting them to the Biden border boondoggle.
I mean, this is pretty close to what the Democrats have been saying for a very long time. They're not against voter ID, but you have to make the IDs free, and the SAVE Act doesn't do that. So, I mean, good idea. It's what the Democrats are trying to do. They're not against all these
There was
ideas.
more than that in the Biden.
I read HR 1.
Yeah.
A lot of these were in there.
A lot, yes, but there was also a lot more stuff in there.
There was.
There was an expansion of mail-in voting. There was an expansion of drop-offs.
Sort of. Let's not get into the weeds on that. What took down HR 1 was a weird campaign finance system that basically like put tax money into campaigns. That was the most controversial part. But a lot of the stuff that this person just lists, I mean, you're right that they were going to make voting easier when it came to the mail-in stuff. So like, you're correct on that. The idea of, making all voting in person, that's extremely unpopular because you're making it harder for elderly people and military, active duty military to vote. So it's like, that's never going to fly with the Democratic Party. And I don't think it should. But a lot of these ideas that you're listing, they are reasonable. The Democrats consider them reasonable. And that's why when you look at the details of the Save America Act and the SAVE Act, it's a problem that those aren't in there. Like the Democratic Party has been very consistent that, sure, have people show an ID. You need to make an ID that meets all of these qualifications free. And the Republicans have never met them on that standard. So yeah, great idea. Tell Republicans.
I think that they're, my sense of that back and forth is that nobody is really serious about having a fucking conversation about election integrity. And I think that it is I often get asked, like, what do I really worry about? Or do I think that this thing that's happening right now is something that really scares me? And very rarely is it. This stuff does.
Yeah.
The fact that like we are now getting to every election is got a gigantic grand conspiracy and politicians are pandering to it.
Yeah.
Is no bueno. It is bad. At some point, we all need to sit down and say, what are the rules of the road? What do we want? What do we not want? And if we're cutting $1 trillion checks for random shit, let's cut some gigantic check that says we are going to roll out new ways to do stuff. I would say part of what has pushed this to a breaking point is the lag time between vote and count. And I would start, this is something I thought Ron DeSantis should have run on, is like, let's incentivize a federal guideline, because you can't tell the states what to do, but you can give them ways to incentivize them to do it. The Florida way of counting, which is you have a pretty robust mail-in ballot system in Florida. It just, you cannot send a mail-in ballot on election day. It's like,
make it ends 3 days before.
It ends like a week or 5 days before or something like that. It's like, look, that's fine. If you didn't get your mail-in ballot in 5 days before election day, then you have to figure out another way to vote. Or it's a provisional ballot, right? Like now you're a tiebreaker ballot. You're not an election day count ballot.
It's not even provisional. You can get your mail-in ballot and walk it in and it counts as an actual ballot, but you didn't use the USPS. That seems fair to me. And California is one of the big problem children in this because they allow you to put it in the mail on election day. Yes. And then it takes its sweet fucking time getting in. As someone who's connected to California and always will be, I'm willing to change that. Like, I think
it's bad. And I think it erodes faith in elections when this shit drags on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, because it makes, you get into that conspiracy thinking of like, well, this guy was winning. And then all of a sudden this other guy won and we don't know where the ballots are coming from. And it's like, just bad. It should be election night. Everybody else can make it election night. There's no reason why we can't make it election night. Just, and we have the thing, Florida shit their pants so fucking bad that they came up with a system past 2000 that's worked like a charm. We know everything statewide in Florida within like an hour and a half of the polls closing.
Yeah, Florida can do it, everyone.
Come on. It's embarrassing. Which polls writes, I'm curious if the polls that show voter ID is extremely popular specify which ID qualifies or just generally says voter ID. If people knew that driver's licenses were excluded, I bet more people wouldn't like that as a policy.
I agree.
Well, I mean, again, the question is, voter ID is something that like would be more stringent of at the polls, and that would be a driver's license. The question is, where do you get registered to vote? And the registering to vote, you would need something more than a driver's license to prove citizenship. So it's always voter ID plus citizenship verification. And that's the larger thing. That being said, we just need to have a conversation about like this actually needs to be something that is a bipartisan solution. Everyone needs to get their weird conspiracy shit out there and be like, no more Starlink, no more voting machines that Mike Lindell, exactly. No more Diebold machines, which is what the Democrats were complaining about in 2004. Let's just, come on. We got to get some fucking rules of the road here. Or we're going to like start killing each other because of 4chan memes. On Amelia. Be All You Can Be writes, in the early 2000s, the U.S. Army developed and released a video game called America's Army to use as a recruitment tool. It's unclear whether they abducted the highest scorers to become child soldiers like in The Last Starfighter.
Nice reference. I will see you at Dragon Con. And I am guessing that I don't know, that we're going back far enough. Maybe the Army could compete with video games, but I wouldn't bet on it. But Call of Duty was already out in 2002, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, nice Starfighter reference.
Reform Recline writes, a lot of people are behind the Reform Party, but they disappointed in their leadership backing down on hard things that need to be done. Thus, the Restore Britain Party has been launched. All the limp-wristed, bedwetting Tory and Lib Dems who are worried about reform should really be worried about Restore, because the leader behind that party, Rupert Lowe, actually puts his money where his mouth is when it comes to helping people that he says is going to help and doing things that he says he's going to do. My prediction is that Restore Britain will win, but if they don't win, perhaps the Reform Party will win, or they will both form a coalition if reform doesn't completely collapse.
Alternately, now I'm familiar with Reform. I'm not familiar with Restore.
It's very
Britain.
new, very new. It started like a month ago, or a month and a half ago. Yeah.
If they're both drawing from populist energy, isn't it possible that they would just negate themselves and end up passing the baton back to the Tories and Labor? Like, I could see that happening.
Likely so. I mean, that is very much in play. Here's all I want to say. The MAGA coalition had big wins in 2024. They had a big united coalition. And almost immediately, they all started hating each other because they weren't doing the thing that they wanted to do fast enough or hard enough. And that is a fast way to lose your coalition. It's a fast way to lose politically. At least they won before they started splintering again. Like, you guys are fucking ridiculous. If you're already splintering into different parties because you don't like who's joining the coalition, like, you all deserve to fucking lose. Like, honestly, that is ridiculous. And finally, Faraj Mirage brings us on home. As a Brit, I think Justin is wrong and Heaton is partially right on reform. The difference between the US and UK is our multi-party system. Whilst Reform might be the largest or second largest party after the next election, they probably can't hit a majority on their own. Also, the fact that they brought the same Tory government ministers who the UK public soundly voted against last time because it was a Tory loss, not a Labour win, really, that will hurt reform when people start paying attention. The far right is also already having fracture cracks with the Tories, Reform, Restore, and other R-name parties that will lower the vote tally and create a hung parliament with no overall control. So, to Andrew's point.
Yep. Heaton's right. Good job.
Heaton is
Happy ovulating.
On PX3 this week, Julie Grace Brufke. If you want more, every detail that is available about the Tony Gonzales scandal, the reporter who has been on this since before the news broke in November is on the show. She's the one who published the text messages this week. It is a conversation that I had to put a legal disclaimer in front of, just in case. And then Friday, our friend Kevin Ryan joins the show and we talk all things Epstein files. Do a big deep dive into the Epstein files. So go ahead and check that out on Friday. Jen, what's sizzling on the congressional dish?
So within a day or two of this episode coming out, I'm going to have my summary of January. These are taking a little longer because we are funding the government for 2026 piecemeal and very, very late. So I had to read a government funding law that funded 3 sections of the government. And I read all the new laws that happened in January, just kind of analyzed the whole month. It'll be a quick episode because they didn't do much. But what they did do could affect you, maybe. I don't know. But listen to Congressional Dish, find out what your Congress did. It'll be done for you soon.
Heaton, who is striding confidently into the political orphanage?
This week, it's just little old Andrew Heaton who is striding confidently into it. I really enjoy reading Supreme Court decisions. You go back, President Franklin Roosevelt said that constitutional law is meant to be the province of everybody, not just attorneys. So when we're talking about like criminal law, contract law, I don't know what I'm talking about. Like I would get anybody into trouble if I were trying to explain how courtroom stuff works. Constitutional law, you can read just as a regular person. I do it. I read the latest, Learning Something Inc. versus Trump. So what overturned the tariffs, and explain why the court ruled against the tariffs and what the dissenters said. And I think it's interesting. I came up with a pretty good analogy. You ready for this? This is the analogy. There's a farmer's market. And there are problems at the farmer's market. There are counterfeit watermelons. Jen's volleyball friends have been painting their excess volleyballs green and pawning them off. And sometimes they're full of spiders. A lot of problems at the farmer's market. So the state legislature says we're going to empower the sheriff to regulate the farmer's market in order to try to quell these problems. And the sheriff goes, great, 25% tax on all watermelons from out of town. And people start going, well, hey, now wait a minute. We said that you could regulate the farmer's market, but like taxing's not really your job. Like that's going above and beyond. And the sheriff went, well, you've given me the implicit power to shut down the farmer's market. I can erect blockades. I can kick people out. I can sanction people. If I have that ability, it must follow that I also have the ability to do something less, which is putting taxes on them. And that's basically the position of Kavanaugh, who wrote, I think, the best dissenting opinion. Thomas was all over the board, but I get into that. I get into the legal rationale of Thomas and Kavanaugh. I get into the legal rationale of the court itself, how it came down on that. I can explain it to you in constitutional terms rather than just, do you like tariffs? You don't like tariffs, although I do have a little bit of ranting in that because I fucking got accused of treason 2 nights ago.
Brave patriot Tim Pool calling it like he sees it.
Yep. Said I was guilty of treasonous behavior. So I was a little bit fired up. But you don't really, like, regardless of how you feel about the tariffs, I explain it, and you'll have that many more tools when Supreme Court decisions come out.
There we go. And that'll wrap it up for us today. We're Not Wrong is a production of Dog and Pony Show Audio. Our editor is Will Saddleberg. Until next time, for Jen Briney and Andrew Heaton, I am Justin Robert Young saying, we're not wrong. Jen's unfair characterization of hysterical women is.
Whoa. Shots fired.
I believe women.
Oh, wow.
Dog and Pony Show Audio.